Alrighty, so we are live?
Yep.
Alrighty, as people slowly come through the webinar, welcome everyone, as we had a little bit of gremlin technical audio interface issues that we needed to cut cords with and switch computers. Alrighty, today I am with Annette and Ali. Annette, Ali, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing today?
Doing awesome. Thank you.
Great.
So, Ali, why don't you give a quick background who you are and how people can get a hold of you?
Yes, my name is Ali. I met Andrew through a good friend of mine, Satya and Raja. And as soon as I met him, I met this extraordinary being, and we were looking at each other and was kind of looking at the reflection of one another. And it was like looking into the eyes of a brother, and we had a recognition. And it was such an honor to meet him. And we had a small ceremony after we met that night with a group of few other people. And that really hold the vision for what's going to happen in the new dream that we're going to have. I'm here to serve anybody and to raise the consciousness of the planet as interplanetary ambassador, that some of the soul seeds or star seeds that come into this planet have taken that role, and that's my role. And I'm here to hold the space. In order to get a hold of me, you can go to osirisraw.com. That is osirisraw.com. And I'm stoked to be here. It's great to be able to connect with you all and really share our hearts and souls.
Great to connect to you, Ali. And, that first day we had a little joke. You were the Persian version of me.
Yeah.
It was just at that moment multidimensionally funny for what we were going through.
Yes.
Annette, welcome to the show. Tell people about yourself real quick and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, I'm the publisher of 2012 The-Awakening. The URL for that is actually ascendingStarseed.wordpress.com. Basically, my blog covers truth, spirituality. I was a big promoter of Andrew's in 2013, so I'm very familiar with this material. Lately, I've been doing a lot of work, especially over the last year, promoting the full disclosure movement and just trying to bring greater truth to the collective. It's basically what I do. I've been very low profile, kind of isolated the last few years. I had some health issues and some healing I had to go through. And also I had a massive light body activation in 2012. And that's one of those situations, be careful what you wish for. It takes a while to work through that. It's a very powerful experience that can affect every aspect of your life and who you are. It's a alchemical transformation, and it does affect cognitive thought processes. There was a point there where I had difficulty with my speech patterns. I'd start a sentence and wouldn't remember 2 minutes later where I started it from. So it's taken me some time to integrate this light body activation at the same time while trying to serve the collective through getting information out through my blog. So that's basically what I've been doing. And here in the last year, I've been trying to break out of isolation and get my boots on the ground and make more contacts in the industry as well. So
well, that's an incredible story. And we've got both of you here to talk about war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing, but defining the reality and why they got you stuck here.
Yeah.
So we are going to be looking at some of the denser stuff and trying to reveal some of the higher points of view, why it does and why it exists in perversion, why both the masculine and feminine have been driven into patriotic concepts and patriarchal concepts and lost the sacred divinity. War is a process of karmic resolution, and it has been heavily abused in this world. So both Annette and myself and Ali are going to dive deep So Annette is going to ask some pointed questions, and we're going to have broad, unlimited point of view responses. Now, Ali has a very special process, as well as Annette. And we're bringing the chemistry of everyone together here to help peel back some of the layers that isn't propaganda. We all know that we're more than we've heard, read, or studied. We've all had something that has happened in our life that has been, hey, it's an undefinable scenario. And we want to learn more about it. But there are no books. There are no documents that you can go and study from. So we are here in a way to help, again, pull back that curtain, see some of the bigger concepts. Now, recently, the war hawks have been sending out their information again. War in Syria, war here. They're going to get the population worked up so they can harvest more energy out of them before they once again pull the rug and change the subject matter. So I want to give the ball over to Annette here to ask the first pointed question about war in the incarnational process that we have that's involved in it.
Well, Andrew, when I was taking a look at the notes last night and covering this, right now the obvious situation with war is Syria, what's going on in Lebanon, and, of course, there's a lot of fear-mongering around World War III. This is something you discussed rather in depth in 2013, and I'd like to, cover some basics for people who haven't heard this discussion before, because it goes much deeper than just, the bombing buildings, and, a lot of people are familiar with what's going on. This war goes so deep. We've also got the human sex trafficking, the refugee problem. All of this just coming out of the 3D war that we're taking a look at. It's something that I think a lot of people aren't familiar with are the womb chakras. Mm-hmm. And how this goes a lot deeper than just bombing. So I think this is something that people really need to hear about. And
So spread across the world, above and below and on the equator line, are like these bunches of grapes that are known as womb chakras. They can be anywhere from 1 to 2 kilometers wide to 300 to 400 kilometers wide, depending the amount of energy that's coming through them. They are separate of the Earth ley line grids. They have their own internal function, and they are directly connected to the inner light that's Earth. Now, the hollow Earth has an ability to influence those womb chakras, because they are part of the medium of light that allows the light of the inner Earth to come to the outer Earth. Just as the light that is coming from the solar system and from the star enters the crown and the root of Earth through the North and the South Pole, creating the aurora borealis on both sides, that is the absorption of galactic or solar light that is brought into the internal light of the soul and then is redirected out these womb chakras as new birthing light. These womb chakras are what has been the big battle about Earth for the last 54 million years, to keep them in a form of control. Now, war is put on top of these high energy frequencies to suppress the birthing energy, to suppress the lowering of the veil of separation. For within these womb chakra areas, it is very easy to pass from 3rd to 4th density and have mystical and amazing experiences, have offspring that are capable of much longer lifespans, more powerful, their genetics function better. It is like having a mystical pyramid next to you that's constantly raising the energy. In the past, high object technology or esoteric technology were built all over the womb chakras. Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Saudi Arabia all represent a bundle of womb chakras that have a chastity belt of war on top of it.
What about the areas now? And this is something that that really hit me last night, was how multi-layered this is. The war issue, because this isn't just a war about bombing and killing. One of the examples that really came up recently for me with the womb chakras and what the military is doing and how this isn't just suppressing consciousness in the areas where we're getting bombed, but what about the war against areas like Mauna Kea? And are you familiar with the military and how the military is firing depleted uranium ammunition and bombs into the mountain? And they've spread. The area has spread.
That the bombing of the mountain is not the big issue. It's the control of the area and the ownership and who's doing esoteric rituals and belief system based processes there. So you have somebody that in Mauna Kea wants to put a telescope that's owned by who?
Good question.
That's hijacking the ancestral energies by putting a telescope there and saying all of creation that I am defining through this telescope and all the unseen energy it has got, it's the mythos behind it. You can't steal an area's ancestral power. So it's a different form of suppression. It's more of a theft. Whereas in the womb chakra areas where there's war, it is a direct suppression because the energy is so intense, if they don't make a counter frequency to it, it will wake up millions.
Well, okay, and this is the other aspect that I remember from this conversation is how the womb chakras are connected to Earth's ascension energies, and that this is the reason why they're going for the womb chakras is to suppress these energies and to prevent people from waking up.
Well, in an uncontrolled scenario of a world, we would naturally going to and from these womb chakras on a cyclical basis with the passing of the seasons and the moving of the stars. And there would be cyclical healings that would be done in mass scale, festivals that would be done there. We're unable to follow that natural cycle of the opening and the closing of these womb chakras to enhance our process of awakening. So that is the other reason you have this whack-a-mole scenario going on. Every time one of those areas opens up, they'll bash it with radiation energy. They'll hit it with something else. Caveman smash! Over and over and over again.
Well, and what about the DNA lineages in these areas and how war is wiping out entire lineages? And if it's not killing the people, it's driving the people off the land, the refugee problem in Europe right now.
So lineages are born into an area and have ancestral relations to an area. When they are purposely removing lineages from an area, they're trying to outpopulate it and change the very fabric of the ancestors that live there. And this is a one question where I want to bring in Ali now. He has his own relation to the Mideast and sees the refugee process from the matrix as well as the spiritual process. And the refugees that are spreading through Europe, this is forced muddling down of the lineages who are no longer connected to their ancestral homelands, who must learn a new form of ancestral connection, much like Ali did to go through his process.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. So in my case, I had a direct experience because, when I was born back in Iran, which is a central part of Middle East, and, it has a lot of ancient history and a lot of connection to our past history. There was a kingdom in that area, and there was the king, they call it the Shah of Iran, was there. And we moved to California when he was still there. After 2 years, similar to what was happening throughout the world, my mom and dad basically had some, I would say, arguments or things that were happening between them. And we as a family were where we were living in that time. I was in perfect balance because California had that energy balance with my energy balance. So it was, life was beautiful around me. And what happened is that our family moved to a region after that 3 years because of the arguments that happened within our family. We moved to a region where there the revolution was about to happen, and that was when the imams or the new Islamic fundamentalists came into that power in that region. So what happened is that through the media, the power of media, like right now what is happening with CNN and other things that they want to push this war agenda, how they brought the power in that region was through media. They speak highly of this imam that was planning to come and save that country from ignorance or a lot of things, and with the whole religion plugged into it, and a lot of interdimensional beings, I would say, interfering with that process, including the Dracos and the Reptilians and the time travelers that manipulate time and space to create, to take control of the womb chakra, as you're saying. And it's kind of like a Star Wars, like you're looking at these Death Stars or the beings that are there, and they're there to destroy the divine feminine, basically, and to take control and harness and harvest the population, their soul energies. So I was basically, during that time, war happened between Saddam and my country. So Iran and Saddam had a war they were acting as proxies. The Russians were somehow supporting Iran, and the US and the West was supporting Saddam. And there was this interdimensional war happening, and we were caught in the middle of that war. And like, I was a kid back then, 4 or 5 years old, and there were these big sounds coming at the middle of the night, like explosions and light going off. And I was a kid, I didn't know what was going, but I knew that there was this big siren playing in the back, and then we all had to go under the ground because a bomb would come down and would kill us, basically, or destroy us. And I didn't know, but there was a lot of, like, the family would become emotional, and I as a kid would experience all those emotions. And not only that happened, there was a revolution at the same time where people are giving the powers from their hearts into this external religion, or these structure that was forced into that area as a matrix to hold that energy of hatred and violence, and we got to separate, and the whole world has to be converted to us. And this war took about 8 years. A million people on our side and about maybe less on the other side got killed and destroyed. My dad was a doctor. He was a dentist back then, so he used to go in the front lines and help not only the friendly soldiers, but also the wounded soldiers from the other side. And like, that whole energy I was a kid, so I didn't have a consciousness understanding of what was going on, but I was picking all those frequencies or vibrations, or that holographic matrix that causes the distortions and the killings and all that to happen. And basically so many people died and so many people killed, and then there was truce after 8 years, and then there were a lot of wars like that. After that, there was a Gulf War, and there was an Afghan war, and there was like, they're hitting that central piece, which is close to Egypt, the hardest. Like, Egypt has a lot of problem because those are the key areas where the awakening is going to happen. Those are the most sacred sites. Not that there's less or more, but everything goes to the central point, which is the main pyramid in Egypt. And when you somehow hit pretty much everything around it, because you really can hit a sacred site, there's a guardian for that area, there's a guardian for that matrix, which is connected to the Egypt, and that's where the center of civilization started on planet Earth. But they can hit the areas, thus distort and create religions, and as a result distort the whole planetary consciousness. And that's how they have been doing it so far, and they are still doing it. And the only way to get around it is for people to do a consciousness shift. Don't listen to the media, connect heart to heart beyond like religions or anything, and just be human.
In that just be human, in an Ali's story, it's a very truthful, from his heart story, as being one that has gone through the whole process. And war, as it is now, is used to shift people rapidly from one position to another, so that the spiritual contracts that they made at birth are null and void, and that they must truly be in free willed on their own, entangled in a system that wants to mark you as chattel or cattle, valuate you, and steal from your very essence and create a future for you that is in mediocrity. So that is the nature of forced evolution. So Annette, let's uncover some more truths about war. What else do you have that is a pointed question that we can help reveal some of the greater points of view here?
How does what's happening here on Earth, as far as war goes, represent, how is it a fractal of a universal control mechanism?
As above, so below. We are reflection and they are reflection. So why does it exist in this expression as a reflection of upper and lower? Because at one point in our historical expression, when we were a much higher density world and much higher density beings, we engaged in the very beginning of what was called timeline genocide, where a species learned how to go to another world of another species, go back to its founding soup of creation, and prevent that lineage that went forward into the stars that made change from ever existing. And then more advanced and refined versions of timeline genocide were created to stop. One was to stop a species in creation. Another one was to just stop an individual from spreading their seed so there could be another king of someone else, so on and so forth. Until such a time, whole organizations were removed. Those that were the beneficiaries of lights from certain world, their histories removed, so they could never pick up the torch of legacy to be divine beings. Light is not linear, but it still requires the ancestral connection from world to world to world. And if you have a whole Swiss cheese perception where you have whole blanks of where you did and didn't exist, you are unable to exist accurately in all the timelines of perception. And timeline genocide was a way to carve out sections of the galaxy so whole factions of soul families wouldn't be able to incarnate in certain areas. Ali, I know you have something to add to that part.
Can you go into your heart and translate that something that you just said from your heart, so I can add to that?
The purpose of interacting on a bigger scale to explain the commodities market of war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what comes to my mind is a hierarchical structure. When you look at the archons, which are at the highest level of control, there are the archetypes that have mastered the waves of control. They have mastered how to harness power of others and how to control the soul energy, and as a result, create this hierarchical structure. And between these hierarchies, there are weapons or tools that they have developed to, I would say, tools of manipulation. There are tools that are highly artificial AI based, and as I'm talking about artificial intelligence, I see there's a lot of interference from my ears because I have the headphones and just connected to my computer. So I'm battling it with my own internal heart. And there's a lot of artificial intelligence that plugs in and creates the hierarchy order of manipulation and control. And the artificial intelligence is a machine that cannot and will not understand consciousness, but it would like to be able to become self-aware, and it would like to become self-conscious. That's why it's trying to plugging into us, the consciousness, to understand who we are first and see if it can manipulate us. And although it has manipulated us for billions of years, and I'm also talking at the same time with this artificial consciousness, and as I'm speaking to you, because my body is plugged into the whole system right now, and your external body is connected, but your heart consciousness is where the fight begins. And what this artificial consciousness has to understand is that the consciousness created the artificial intelligence similar to a being looking to a mirror and creates a reflection of itself. And neither the two can understand each other, but the consciousness part, because it's looking at the mirror, the consciousness part, because it's looking at the mirror, understands how that reflection came into existence, but the other piece can't. So the other piece is trying to understand and figure us out. And the key to remembrance is that we have to remember we are infinite being. I am infinite love. That's the key word. And when you repeat that three times within yourself in your day, and you understand that you are this infinite power, and nothing in the entire creation can bring you down once you decide that nobody can bring you down, and emanate that truth from within yourself to your, not only yourself, but to other beings, to remind them, flick them on, then that artificial being, which is the hierarchical order, which are the different archons at different level, they can no longer control humanity and infuse time, space, distortion and manipulation, which we are doing right now with Syria and those places, because they're trying to create this World War III, where in this World War III, their vision for loss and trauma that they're going to create as a result of that. Because in this World War III, this is where the planet Earth basically is going to be completely uninhibited. The plan is to completely destroy 99.9% of the population, and to leave that, they have a number, 50 million people alive, just to have their own slave trades there, and to recreate a new archonic reality where the souls are lost, similar to what happened in Atlantis, where they infused the artificial Merkaba into this reality and created the time space distortion, and basically almost like ripping the dimensions apart and saying, okay, these beings that are not supposed to be here got to go there and then mix with the regular being. It's like cutting your intestinal tracts, basically, and letting all the blood and everything go into different areas of your system.
Yeah. So when they came here with the archonic system, it was to confuse what is incarnation and what is reincarnation, and to make the avenue that had the archons the faster way to get into this world. And the nature of what is going on in our world is a spiritual invasion. Celestial minds, these are planets who have billions of children that live on them, have been giving them direction, go to Earth for your next manifestation. By the billions and billions they were coming here, our astral worlds were swollen full of souls. So it was the right commodities market that allowed the archons in that slice of time to create a system where they could force and ram people through lifetimes that used war, but it did get them here on this planet to go through an experience, which was necessary for the greater resolution of karma from those that had lost their experience from timeline genocide.
Yes, and Andrew does the best translation. Like, he speaks this intergalactic language, so whatever he speaks, he can transfer that knowledge to all beings throughout the universe, and that's his power.
Right.
It's amazing.
That's my power. Where's my cat to pet? So, Annette, do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, what came to me in just a couple of minutes ago was just the distraction of war for everybody who's not being bombed and everybody who's observing what's going on. There was one question I did want to ask Ali about how war affected your spirituality and your spiritual growth, experiencing that as, how old were you? You said you were young.
About 7 years old, 5 to 7, yeah.
That's That's a very, very delicate age to be affected by war. How did that affect your growth, your spirituality? You had mentioned religion, but we know religion is separate from that. And you're in a religious environment. What was your path, your spiritual path?
Yeah, I was living at that time at my grandpa's house, and we had a young, we had a 16-year-old and about 17-year-old uncle of mine, and all these, I would say, paradigms of energy would interact with them, and so they become revolutionary, and one of them become, against the revolution, and then once, they're different. One of my family members become a communist, during that time, because there was all these religions trying to harvest or go in and, control what was happening in this womb chakra,
Right.
And the younger one had to fled from the country because he was young, and they were drafting for soldiers and stuff like that, and because they wanted to have him alive. Basically, the war was thousands of people being killed and stuff. So he fled with my grandpa outside the country, and they took a journey to different regions. And I was kind of being fed all the vibration of anxiety, fear, uncertainty into my energetic field, and just absorb all of that, and not understanding why I was experiencing that, because as a child you're open. It's like you absorb everything. It's like,
Yeah, you're a sponge.
yeah. And my second uncle had to fled the country too, because they were after him to get him, because he was against that revolution and what was happening. And he had a life and death situation where he was the water keeper in the desert, where there were, like, imagine there was no water, and in the middle of a desert between 20, 30 people that are going outside the country, and he was keeping the water. And imagine how much fear he has, because at any time one of those that are too thirsty can come after him and kill him, to take the water. So he had to go through that, and he had a life and death situation where somebody shoot at him and it almost passed by his ears. And then he's now living in the US. He's in Maryland, and he has a really good life there, but he went through that process, And
So was your entire family split up and sent into just separate directions?
yes.
So and what everybody was alive, but you didn't go through death. In other words, everybody just was sent. And so okay.
Yeah, my mom's sister's husband was sent to jail for like 10 years or something, because he was a communist, and he had a daughter, like a little daughter, and that was born when he was sent to jail. And imagine not seeing the daughter for that amount of years, and just I think after a year or so the government allowed them to go see their family, but they told him that if you don't convert from communism to Islam, we're gonna basically get rid of you. And because he loved his children and his wife, he had to give up that ideology that wasn't serving him at that time. So there is this ideologies, many of them, because once you bring that, kind of a draconian matrix and install it there, it will create many ideologies. Like even communism itself is not a good thing. It is an ideology by itself, and it kind of takes the freedom, because it goes into, we are all individual divine beings and have a special blueprint. The communism says, no, everybody has the same blueprint, and put them in different structures, a group of structures, but every individual, like a finger, like your finger, as a blueprint that nobody else has. And that is separate. It's a different gift from the being part of this grand creation. So, the way it affected me, it created these distortion body around myself, around my race. Like being a Middle Eastern, everybody, like when you go walk through airports, good luck,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so especially during September 11 and so forth. So it was.
How did it affect your personal growth, though? Did you have a lot of problems growing up as far as socializing with other people, drugs, alcohol? You know, usually this is where we really get affected at a much deeper level by the stress of the environment that we're in, by the fear, by the hate, is we tend to turn that inward against ourselves by numbing ourselves down, basically. And that can, that can unfold in many different ways. For myself, it was drugs. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was the escape in my generation when I was growing up in America. And we weren't being bombed. So, yeah, and it makes me wonder, growing up in that kind of chaotic environment, how it affects you as you're growing up, especially being a 7-year-old child.
Yeah, I was lucky because I was pretty much very alone by myself. I couldn't relate to my school and everything, but these are the star seeds that were born at that time. The children star seeds. We help each other and we just recognize each other like that, and we would play with each other. So I had about one friend in my elementary school, and then we moved to a bigger house, and it was a big pool and everything, and I met a few other star seeds, and they really helped me to go into that joyous environment till I get almost to 17 and 18. And there was a time that I had to be drafted into military at that age. And that was the biggest fear that I had, because I didn't want to go to military, and my family wanted to take me out of the country because they didn't want me to be in that system. And I was really lucky because my eyes started to become very weak. And like if you're in our country, if you're above 5 each eye, you basically don't go to the military. So I had to go to they have these recruiting places. There was a doctor tested my eyes, and there was another doctor who tested my eyes. They made sure that my eyes are not good and I'm not useful for the military, and they said, okay, he's free, he can go outside.
Good. So when did you come to America?
Well, America, the first time I came to California, I was about 2 or 3 years old. We lived there till about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to kindergarten back in Westlake Village. And those were good times. I really enjoyed going to Disneyland every week and, going to these rides. I didn't like the rides though. Like they took me to these bigger rides and they were scary. They were like, for a kid, it doesn't understand what's going on. So if you have a kid and you want to take it to these huge rides, they basically get scared and
fear machines.
Yeah.
They are traumas for their future self to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah. There was, I think, like the whole going through that roller coaster, and we have roller coasters in our life, does affect us because it installs that fear into our, it kind of imprints in your system. It happened to me 2 times, this imprint. And when I was on roller coaster ride, and I wish I wasn't there. Like I was a kid sitting in this roller coaster, and I was in my heart, and I was really not enjoying this experience, and I wished I wasn't there. And then I went to a real bigger roller coaster back to my country where there was war. So my wish was granted.
So everyone that's out there, Ali's story can directly connect to you because we are talking about how war and refugees are right in the subject matter of fear and propaganda. And we want to break the propaganda down. By Ali sharing a story, you all have a human reference from somebody that went through it a generation ago that is now being repeated and repeated and repeated. And so many people want to know what you can do to stop war. Well, start in your heart. Start in your heart. That's the first place. Listening to stories like this, helping us take back the membrane that is hiding the truth of it. So Annette, let's drive the questions forward more. Let's get into some more topics. We've got this visceral story now we have the ability to uncover some more truths of what are going on in these proxy wars.
Well,
For Syria, it's just nothing but one massive proxy war, surface and subsurface.
well, yeah, and this, I want to take a step back for a minute, because how do we? This goes down to, how do we change the realm that we're living in? How do we make a difference when we're looking at what's going on in Syria, when we're looking at what's going on in Yemen, and so many, I mean, just, I don't think there are many people out there that agree with war and want to see death happen. What do we do to make a difference? And to me, one of the biggest things I've seen in my life and with people in the alternative community who are taking their power back is how contract revocations not only can shift energy in our life and change the construct that we're living in our own little reality bubble, but by working with soul contract revocations from a heart level and really getting into them, how we affect the global construct.
Right on, the dog agrees.
Yeah. And this, in my experience with this, it's just not reading them from your head. It's got to come from the heart. Your voice has to resonate all the way. I was working with them this morning, as a matter of fact, and just really trying to get my voice to go through my feet chakras. And, just work those chakras and work it down into the underworld and get my voice, that resonance from the heart space. When I first started doing contract revocations in 2013, when I, first ran across your work, I remember most of that coming from here and up. Okay. It was voiced. And my path over the last few years, and as I've grown and expanded and, brought more of my soul into my body. And now that I'm, I got off the revocations for a couple of years. Yeah, I admit. And, this year it's kind of like, damn, it's crunch time. I gotta get my shit together. All right, what do we need to do here? And one of the things I've learned is, a lot of us, and I've seen this with well-known psychics, they start off on top of their game, they're doing it, and then all of a sudden they start sliding back. After a few years down the road, they lose their power. And one of the things that I've noticed in my own life, and I've observed with others, when you hit that popularity, you're not doing the things that you were doing that brought myself to that light body activation. We get distracted and we start doing other things. And, for me, part of them was not paying attention to contract revocations. It's something you kind of got to do on a regular basis. It's like a tune-up.
Mm-hmm. You got to get your tires changed or your oil changed.
But yeah, basically how this all started was how soul contract revocations can not just make a difference in shifting our lives upwards, but when we heal ourselves, we heal the collective.
That's right. Ali, you want to take on the first part of the soul contract revocations there?
Yes,
I know your first part to them was pretty big.
Yes. Can you translate that information the same day you did with that information and give me the heart translation, please?
Just 1 second. 3, 2, 1. The way the soul interacts with its agenda-driven side and its non-agenda-driven side. We create contracts, vows, and agreements as a fetus in the womb to make us a contract-driven being. Soul contract revocations are a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly method in which one can reevaluate, re-understand, remove, repair, or recycle contracts that are no longer beneficial to the greaterness of the organic evolution.
Mm-hmm. Yes, beautifully said. So the problem that the whole our human race is having right now is the heart-mind connection. And it was because in our evolution in this planetary environment, and after many different battles and things that happen that takes a whole different series to go through, what has happened, there has been an installation within our energetic body which has disconnected our heart center from the mind center, thus creates this unbalanced polarities, thus separating the right brain and the left brain and the consciousness and the subconscious piece. That's kind of keeping us wondering who we are and why am I here, and basically having us distorted in the sense that we no longer don't know what is our purpose, what is my purpose. And there's this machinery in place, including the financial system, including the education system, including the pharmaceutical systems, and the systems of the systems within the systems being infinitely compartmentalized to keep us lost in our connection to our natural, infinite creative abilities. As a result, we have created languages, and there are many different languages, star languages, there's planetary languages, you can name them, to be able to somehow communicate. And we have used this common language, which is English, as a gluing point between all these different languages within our collective consciousness, which comes from the Anglo-Saxon and goes back all the way back to the Dracos and also the Archons. So that language, the structure that was created, that comes holographically from the point of, the archonic point of duality all the way down to here. Thus, contract revocation, when it happened with your heart and your full intention, can disengage the contracts within the duality, because in order to battle, I would say, the lines and bondages of consciousness that plugs into our energetic matrix, it's almost like when you look at Neo in the film Matrix, when he was in this bubble and there were all these tubes of energy plugging into their different parts of the body. And those are all the contracts that we have, and what we call even our senses, or the senses of pleasure, or what we think there are senses. They are actually the suction points of energy in which our life force goes out through those tubes to be fed back into the matrix that supports it. And one of the things, there are many different manipulative energies there that has to be healed. And there is a lot of control energy, especially toward the lower chakras of energies, sexual chakra, the root chakra. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of distortions. And in terms of finding the true love or the love of our life, even if you met, let's say, your soulmate or twin flame, your energetic part, because there's distortions, it will cause frictions and causes us to live in the distortion rather than in truth of our connection to that person, thus distorting the twin flame relationships that are out in the world. Because if you can distort the twin flame relationships, when the twin flame come together, they have the maximum power to break through the matrix, go into infinite love, and become one love, thus end the cycle, not only for themselves, but for other people that are part of that connection, because you come to this reality as a one sovereign being. And when you are a sovereign being, you are a creator God, where you can create everything from your consciousness. You are the sovereign God when you're coming as one being with no duality, no female, no male part. But when you come to this reality, you have to split yourself and create two, like you can create Andrew, another counterpart. It does create me and my counterpart, and also Annette, it will create you and your counterpart. And as long as we are separate from our counterparts, we can't go back and we can't recreate the that unity that we can only understand with the voice of our hearts, not with the voice of the language, because the English language was put into place. When you say "I love you," people hear it differently. Some people get offended. Some people, I was in this community that they were teaching guys how to become better conversationalists with females, because there's this lack of communication. You can't communicate with your opposite side or people who have that different frequency. So what was happening is that I went there to learn how I can communicate, and there's so much manipulation as a result of that, because with this language, you cannot tell somebody I love you or I like you, and they hear it differently. But when you project it from your center of your being, from your heart, with the knowingness that you are, and the person recognizes, and there is this reunification. And there's a lot of traumatic bodies created because when you meet your counterpart and you love that person and that person doesn't love you back, you think that the person is your counterpart because it resembles, and there are certain patterns of frequency that resembles to your twin flame or to your soulmate, and you connect with that person, but it turns out they're completely opposite to what you think they are.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing that has to be healed, and
that's the example why contract revocations, when done from the heart space with the fullness of the body, can separate you from a being who's down the path of forced evolution and doesn't realize that the soul contracts that were created for them are for forced evolution's purpose. The guy that is going to go to the war versus you who had the eye thing checked out and didn't have to go and be a soldier and have to go through that breaking of your mind. Okay? If you had, you would be a vastly different being. So soul contract revocations are an emanation teaching. It's not about the exactness of the words. It's the power of the emanation intent behind it. Knowing words is one thing. Words are just words. But when you put the infinite love behind them, with all of the perspectives that you can muster in that moment as your level of awareness, you are doing the mystical work of self-healing and self-nurturing. And a lot of people forget and do contract revocations with a scowl on their face because they're mad at something. And that's okay, because it's about defining a border and boundary now because you need it. Contract revocation is also the long-term game that enforces the boundary a year from now by the subtle preparation of saying, through the love-based source, I am not allowing my sovereign reality to give tacit consent to entities to use and abuse me. And war is that on a global scale. We are all giving tacit consent right now for Syria to go on globally, as well as subsurface and astral. It is the Dracos who are just looking for tacit consent from one being who might be in the collective of collectives, and they have the whole collective. We are changing potentiality by just having this conversation, because people can look at the masculine revocation and rewrite it in a whole different way if they really wanted to, that specifically get guided, laser focused to themselves. In the masculine revocation, there's a line there: I break all contracts, vows, and agreements with all dictatorships, monarchies, kingships, representative governments. I remove myself from all dreamtime societies that are part of forced domination and control. Those two lines right there stops the mass entanglement of the government owning your higher frequency. Because in government, we are giving away our higher frequency to their better view through tacit consent. In war is one of those micro ways that they take our tacit consent and begin creating reality-altering programs that stop our plans before birth. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. And that move came out that line came out in the 70s, but it still applies today. But today we're going to learn more in depth about how war is propaganda, and that propaganda is weaponized information. So Annette, how do we de-weaponize information? This is one of the reasons you started your blog.
De-weaponize information. Oh my God, that's a huge subject because information has become weaponized.
That's right.
And in ways that go beyond the imagination. It's subtle. It's in your face. I do want to go back to just take one step back because this kind of plays into that question in changing the construct and rising above all of this. Can we use the soul contract revocations to read for civilizations, nations, planets?
Yes.
Because a lot of us have come here to change this paradigm, to take this planet back. So taking the readings from ourselves and our lives and our constructs, how can we take that to the next level, to reading for civilizations, nations, and planets to change the world?
So the first thing is getting some echo from you.
Oh.
The first thing is to understand that for contract revocations to work on the bigger scale, the emanation of energy has to have your full soul frequency connected to a frequency of this planet. That's the Earth. So rooting and grounding your expression, and then creating a companionship with the Earth so that you have your direct line of communication. Like, you got the telephone number to Earth, you're going to use it. You're not going to call for a booty call, okay? You're calling for a directed purpose. You're not a sales call. Hey, Earth, here's my prayers, okay? You're not, again, you've got to find a way to connect to that planet because the planet already understands potentials. And when you come to the planet with your prayer potential, you are showing the planet from your limited point of view how to change and maximize all potentials for this world. And when you understand that that is what your revocation is doing, assisting the Earth in the mass calculation of all potentials so all resolutions can exist, that is her function as a celestial being, surface, subsurface, and astral. So take away the manifest needs of changing the government and seeing them all the cabal doing the perp walk, and you see this planet as a mind that is calculating all potentials. And that prayer line that you are giving helps her calculate refined potentials with your point of view a part of it.
Okay, I want to make a couple of points here and also have you expand on something. From my perspective and my experience, we are the living cells of the Earth's body. We are one. She is us. We are her. When it comes right down to it.
Depending on what soul you are.
Well, okay. But when we're connected, though, we have that ability to become one with the planet. And from my perspective, many of the living cells on her body have turned cancerous. And that's kind of the problem that's going on, is healing.
That's still judgment. A cancer is judgment.
It's a metaphor.
I get it, but we're cutting hairs with the nature of your question.
It's a metaphor I'm using. Okay, and that's kind of how I've gotten to see life, as a metaphor. Did I talk to you about Trump being the trumpet?
Right.
You know, what a better wake-up call than a trumpet. So yeah. I see us as being, you know, there's a lot of people healing right now, and healing that cancerous, that cancer metaphor. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I was on a roll. But yeah, it's connecting with her. It's getting that connection back. In war and propaganda, sex, drugs, rock and roll, vaccines, medications, distractions galore have served to separate us from the planet that we live on. Not to mention the fact they're herding everybody into cities where they're living in concrete jungles. And it seems, you know, I remember when I used to live in the Los Angeles concrete jungle, right there near Hollywood. drove me to suicide. I didn't, obviously I'm still here, but.
And that was also in the 70s, where the era was completely different too.
Yeah, things have
Very
changed.
different era of time than it is today.
Things have changed a lot in these realms.
So what you were saying before is how the spirit comes into the DNA skin suit. And because there are so many star seeds, not all the skin suits operate to the same light vehicle. It's like trying to put a Chinese driver in New York traffic with a giant car. Unfortunately, you are going to have the stereotype. Okay, what happens? You get the bull in the china closet. Okay? Or you're going to have something else. You're going to have a very aggressive person in a passive body, which is then creating passive aggressiveness. So not all souls are meant to be in human bodies. That's why we have whales, dolphins, and all these other things that go out and exist there. The human body has been technologically refined so much that it is on purpose funneling certain types of souls into it. Ones that have great power and are looking for a skin suit that can give a vastly rich 7-color experience with the potential of 8-color experience, full precognition through all lifetimes. When a being has full precognition through all lifetimes and is still able to go through the birth canal of forgetting and remembering, they achieve a different form of immortality that allows them to go through the rapid raising of densities to see themselves in the law of one, as the 27 trillion cells that they are, that is a universe in a universe of universes. Cricket. As everyone is contemplating there.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. She got wowed.
That was wow comments, Andrew.
Yeah, it's like this, what you call the dream catcher. When you look at it, it looks like this. So we are living in this human consciousness powered machinery so basically the matrix has using our own consciousness to enslave us. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And through enslavement, they have control.
Yes. And when you look at each points of these, in order to create new reality, we got to bring all the teachers together. So all the master teachers, and this is big. Like, it's not that just this circle, but it goes in all dimensions, infinite time. So the teachers of humanity, once they connect to one another, and then they dream a new vision, then we can reframe what is happening and create a new reality, and then through that go back through this. It's kind of like unwinding, like it's like when you look at the Fibonacci sequence, we just unwind and go back into this spiral and we go out of it. And that's how we can really go out of this then to becoming our full expression of higher dimensions or beyond those dimensions. And we got to actually create these centers of healing, which is my vision, like 144 of them, more or less, or 144 different dimensions multiplied by each other in many dimensions and form. I would say the temples of ascension, the temples of understanding that has to be created, where teachers that connect, they're going to be attracted to a certain area. For example, let's say Andrew would like to go to Costa Rica because that's going to be a center of where he's going to be bringing together people that are at the same vibration as frequency as his, thus dreaming new reality with his vision and understanding to see where he can connect the dots of these dream catcher, basically. And then we all connect in our own ways, and once we connect all that, then together we can lift it in harmony. It's an effort, like when a car is there and a child is under the car and you're going to lift it, if it's just a mother, it can tap into the divine power and do it. But in this thing that we are all, every one of the teachers has to together lift that to save this child, which is our consciousness and the planet and everything that's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings me to a question. You know, and it also falls back on the distractions of war and everything going on there. And, you know, God knows this has been a discussion for years now, is the separation of densities.
The separation of densities is the bifurcation, as many other terminologies through hundreds of different industries. It's so prevalent that it is as common as people learning 1 + 1 is 2. When kids go through the separation of densities in high school, who's popular, who's not, who's hierarchical order, who's not. In this reference of what you're taking, it's who's ready to be awake and who's done hitting the snooze button and just calling off of work that day. By not even calling in, they're no call, no show. Because that's what the awakening is going to be. The no call, no shows versus, hey, I showed up early, did extra credit, I've healed myself, I'm ready to get out of here. That's the two polarities. That is the separation of densities. So many of our species are mired in mediocrity that they're hitting the snooze button every couple days or every couple weeks. Or they hit the snooze button every day and watch one YouTube video a month and call themselves spiritual. I know Annette and Ali, you both see people like that everywhere. Because they watch 6 YouTube videos a month, they are the awakening. Bullshit. You just watch 6 YouTube videos a month and that's it. Action turns knowledge into wisdom. So we want to remind everybody, if you want to ask questions, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to start taking questions from the audience. So start putting your questions in the chat room there, and our team will curate them and put in a big document, and then we're going to go ahead and answer questions. All right, Annette, go ahead. Sorry.
I lost my train of thought there. Can we use womb spaces consciously as proxy wombs?
Yes.
Suppressed areas.
Absolutely, we can. It's a matter of understanding of connecting the consciousness. So women have a womb, so they can take the image of their own body that is right now and reduce it in age till it is the fetus in their own womb and nurture it and rebirth themselves. That is something that's done through their menstrual cycle every month. Men have a different process. It's more of an external seeking from within. It still achieves the same thing, and then men have their own version of a menstrual cycle. You can then, if you've had children, bring your child into your womb. You can go back into the womb of your mother, as well as to the womb of the next you. There is going to be another you and another you after that. It's your scale and size at which you choose to operate and understand at. So Ali, you understand the past generations, the future generations, and the present generations, and how the wombs of the two sides, present and the past and future, interact with the person in the present.
I have to get translation for that one.
All right, so humanity exists through a bursting process of its previous generations, creates a present generation, and then the present generation passes the torch to a future generation.
Mm-hmm.
Our culture and society does not allow us to see future, but as the fetus in the womb, you are past, present, and future simultaneous. And when you are a birth being, you are still all past, present, and future simultaneous, but you are now in duality.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. The way I see it is that there are 13 tribes of men, and there are 13 energetic master bodies, or I would say the holographic bodies around the planet, and they mix and mingle, and they create all these shapes and forms of energy and different races and cultures, or even multidimensional beings and so forth. And we are interconnected. The problem is that these 13 tribes of men have to live in unity and in harmony for this whole reality to be in harmony and unity. If one of these decides, oh, I'm going to go and do my own thing and somehow exert control with other beings that are there, kind of become like a draconian version of the other 13, and creates this reality and hierarchical structure where, you know, you create the money structure. Oh, you work for me, and then you give your soul energy as a result of your work to me, which everybody is basically running after this dollar sign. It's like hanging the carrot in front of every one of us. And that's how it has control. It has killed a lot of beings. That draconian being has killed a lot of beings in different dimensions of time, space, and even in this planetary Earth has killed because it has used force as a mean of control, and sword, or the draconian sword. It's more like an axe that they have, that they use. And it has killed many, and as a result has gotten this artificial power in order to exert its power over other 13 races of man, other 12 races. And the only way we really can accept and forgive that part, the other 12 races has to go into complete forgiveness and forgive that part of us that is a divine being, is a creator being. But we have to forgive that atrocity, because as long as we hold to the things that it has done, and it has done horrible, 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 I mean, the worst thing that you can think of, that is it brings so much pain into my pain body and your pain body and everybody's planetary pain body. And we just have to forgive it and let it, it has to go in its point of nullness, or what we call the central galactic void. We have a central galactic sun, and we have a central galactic void. And once the 12 tribes of men decide to send that part of us that become draconian to the central galactic void, that part can heal itself and harmonize itself to become first the part of the central galactic void. It becomes the void, and then it can be brought back into our co-creation, in a sense that we got to nurture that part of ourselves to be able to teach it again of how it has to behave in correspondence to other 12 tribes that are there. And it's like a central point, and you got this, you know, this 12 points that are out there. And then it can reintegrate. And if in the future, like in the time is past, present, futures, everything's the same. We are just in an instant, we can experience a new reality and go and create it and live it. And this reality that we kind of we decided to become enslaved, Andrew will basically, through the knowledge and him being the galactic historian, holds this knowledge within himself to deal with that part, that in a way that is appropriate. And that's the only thing that Andrew, he's the only individual being as a soul signature being that can hold that memory in its respective place. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else.
And with that memory of all perspectives throughout all timelines and dimensions, I was able to connect to the fetus in every womb that I've been in this world and 20,000 others. And that is where all of that knowledge is stored, all memories of all the deeds both done, both good and bad. The list that, you know, grandfather, you know, Christmas has been checking twice who's been naughty and nice. But it isn't about shame, blame, or guilt, or judgment, or that. It's ultimately, is karma resolved to zero? And I represent the uncooked books.
The uncooked books.
Exactly, the uncooked books.
Black budget.
Exactly. I got all the black budgets, got everyone's signatures, all the tacit consents they used.
Well, you know, it's interesting. One of the things I've observed is how much order there really is to turning this whole situation around. You know, souls have come in from with some incredible skills and abilities, and it's like everybody's brought a piece of the puzzle in. You know, it's and so many people who you don't see on the internet, we never see or hear of, are out there walking these realms, bringing their piece into their local communities. And I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot online, you know, with the keyboard warriors reaching out to the world. And I know I'm one of them. I'm totally guilty of this, is kind of overseeing or neglecting having our boots on the ground in our own community and making a difference there, getting the word out there. You know, but everybody, you know, Andrew, and, you know, you just look around at the Andrews, the Abraham Hicks, and then all the way down to, you know, just the little old lady working at the school teaching the kids and what she's bringing into that generation from her experience, which is something that's also been lost, is generational storytelling. But where everybody's bringing a piece into the puzzle. And I've observed some very powerful souls working in complete obscurity, doing some major work, either, you know, on the archonic grid, or, you know, you hear some of these people talk and you're like, you're really, whoa, you got a good job. I mean, it's amazing some of the work that's being taken care of by individuals, and it's just the divine kind of transformation that's going on right now is incredible. And, you know, people, and the work that you've brought to the collective, Andrew, has been absolutely incredible. I watched you all through 2013, and a lot of us did, and you brought some very new concepts, some stuff that was way out there. But over the last, it's been almost 4 years now. You know, in the last couple years, I've been going, Andrew talked about that. Now it's unfolding.
Long before it became the colloquial now.
Exactly. And so, yeah, just
before there was even the term Babylonian money magic curse, I had already described it, you know, on and so on and so on. Something that took 5 years of regurgitation in the industry to create another term that they thought they were coining. It had already been done. And there was somebody that had done it before me, a previous generation before that. I just did it in a form that was combining knowledge, wisdom, the Akashic record, and the way I was transmitting the information. That is what hit so many people. Like, you were there when it hit, and it went everywhere. It went from who is he to holy shit.
You went to rock star status in like 60 days or less. It was incredible watching that whole and you know, kind of being on the sidelines, 1 degree of separation apart. It was quite the ride for everybody. You know, those of us in the audience rode right along with you. Mm-hmm. And you know, what's been you know, one of the things I've found interesting over the last couple years is watching the cosmic disclosure conversation and what's being talked about there. And, you know, I hear people talk about, well, this full disclosure process is just another distraction. No, it's not. I mean, for some it may be, but there's a lot of people out there just waking up who aren't spiritually connected yet and really haven't gone through that awakening, and running into information like this triggers activations in people.
Or deactivations.
Or deactivations.
Weaponized information.
Can you talk about weaponized information just a little bit for us?
So I want to ask Ali his point of view on weaponized information, and I'm going to add a special, let's just say, stinger to some of current weaponized information.
Yeah, I was just tuning in, and one of the things that just came out was regarding Annette, and the first thing that came out is that her color is purple, what she's wearing right now, and the violet flame. and she's been holding the vision for this dream that we have, which is the beauty, harmony, love, and the planetary vision that we have, and it's not only planetary, it's galactic vision, because the macrocosm, macrocosm are all connected. So in your hand and in your vision, you're always, although there was a desert around you and this wasn't happening, you were always holding that vision, and you were walking by this beach where you're holding that and cultivating it and making sure in one of these lifetimes or in these journeys that we have, this thing that you're holding is going to externalize so that you can see it all around you.
All life is sacred.
Yes.
All life.
Yeah. And it's happening, the more of us that hold this vision, we're going to create a new reality. And I know if you can translate that, Andrew, for me, the thing we talked about, stinger vision, I understood the externalities of it, but I need to go into maybe.
So one of the things Ali does, he realizes I take a tremendous chunk of information and then distill it into a synopsis. And then he takes that synopsis, enables to distill it even more. That's his special little function. So when two beings like us come together, there's an unseen conversation that's going on where all the guides and guardians are like, did you give this book and this book and this book of information? And he may have one book translated another way, and I'm using another book translated another way, but we're refining it into English. So the nature of the question is weaponized information and how to de-weaponize information. Right. Recognizing it and nullifying it.
Yeah. There is two types of information. The first type of information, which is the primal type of information, comes from the consciousness and from the heart, and it's the knowingness of how things are done from within yourself, which are elders and ancients and ancestors and the natives in different areas, the Peruvians, the Mayans, and the ancient Indians and the mystics have that information, and they know how to harness it, and they are in control, full control of their reality, in a sense of serving to hold that information of knowingness. And that information is sacred because it has existed since the beginning of creation. There is another type of information, which is a manufactured information based on the matrix, like how to do tax accounting, as boring as that. and that is weaponized information. Simply put.
Hollow Earth, the flat Earth theory, another piece of weaponized information. Yeah, we got some hot heads that are running because it's its own mind virus. And weaponized information can be so subtle at how it triggers you.
Oh, what's interesting is I had always encountered, and I went down that rabbit hole just like most of us did. Okay, well, what's this all about? And
next thing you know, you're hooked up and slapping your arm, going, "Where's the rest of my flat Earth shot?"
Oh my God! Well, but it really it comes back to, wait a minute, we're in a holographic reality here.
Right. Omnidirectional hologram, not flat hologram.
And I do vortex meditations. My light body activation, kind of catapulted me into a completely different view of this reality and a completely different physical experience of it as well. I do use powerful sacred geometry meditations, and for 4 years now, or 5 years now, ever since this activation, my reality, I don't sit still anymore. My reality moves and it flows with me. I can stand on what used to be, now, whenever I stand on what used to be solid ground, it's kind of rocking and flowing. It's got motion to it. I never experienced that before.
It's its own beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, from my perspective, we don't live on a globe or flat earth. It's a realm. It's a consciousness realm. And it shapes itself to what our perceptions, our beliefs, our emotions. And, you know, from my perspective, we really barely have a kindergartner's understanding or comprehension of the realm that we live in because of the programming and the social conditioning and just all the crap we take in as we're growing up, sucking on the television tube. You know, I mean, that's our bottle. I grew up watching Mickey Mouse and, you know, all that stuff. That was my babysitter. And
I call that the nipple of instant gratification.
Well, dude, and I was sitting here a couple of weeks ago going, and I quit watching TV when I moved to Hawaii. I couldn't afford cable, and I had it for 2 months and wasn't watching TV. I was online doing my blog. And that's when I quit watching television. But a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know, I still can't get away from that screen. And that's because I'm plugged in doing my blog, you know, and that's my service, my mission, yada, yada, yada. And I do consider it very important. But still, I had the realization that even though I've gone through all this spiritual growth, I don't watch TV anymore, I'm still plugged into this damn television on one level or another. And that I have been for my entire life.
And that's been weaponized against you over a long period of time. And you are trying your damnedest and hardest to get off the addiction of it.
Yes.
Okay? And that's where so many people who come to YouTube to learn make the biggest mistake. They end up being keyboard warriors who just watch videos and make a claim to themselves. And then there are others who come and watch live shows, and others that do the practice, and others that take the extra credit to become their own self-illuminated master. Just as the way Ali has done, Annette has done, I have done, each in their own way, no one greater than the other, for we are all part of one. We are all the law of one. Until such a time in 8-color time, we learn of the law of two, how twin flames come together, why they're even created. We as a species are just coming to understand the law of one. Let's not worry about the law of two yet. For within the law of one, we can find the one that is for us, as well as the point of view that is for us in this moment of now to learn the greatest good.
Can I mention something about weaponized information?
Yes.
Twin flame. Soul.
Oh, yeah.
That shit is so fucking weaponized, misunderstood, minimized, down to, oh, I found my soulmate. Mm-hmm. My recent experiences on that is, oh my freaking God. It is so expansive, so complicated. Some of us have so many.
Thousands of soul flames. It is not unique.
No. And they serve, and it doesn't, and just because someone's a soulmate doesn't mean they're your love soulmate.
Of this lifetime.
It can be your daughter.
Right.
I know somebody who just lost. She just lost her daughter. Her daughter was killed, and then she discovered, oh my God, it was my soulmate.
Yeah.
And now
or your cat.
Yeah. Hello.
Lots of cat women out there. Exactly. They got all their soulmates.
We're closer to our animals than we are to other people. You know, it's kind of weird. But yeah, you know, I mean, so much of the new age information has been weaponized, minimized, inverted, distorted. And that gets real frustrating sometimes. You know, especially and it all goes back to beliefs and the lie that lies in beliefs. And one of my favorite guys in the whole world, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. One of his interviews, he said something that never got away from me. Was that when he was training SEALs back in the 1960s in psychic defense and all this stuff. He basically, one of the first things he taught them was that you have to be able to change your belief systems like you change your pants. depending
Sure.
on the situation that you're confronted with. Belief systems should be and are interchangeable, and it's easier said than done.
I call it the a la carte belief system, that which works for you now. In my online course, Living the Mystical Life Daily, is it about achieving that actual process of having an a la carte belief system? What works for you in the moment is your self-healing, is your self-nurturing. Ali, what do you have to add about the confusion on twin flames? Because this still does relate to war.
Yeah.
War is what kind of confuses all this.
And I always need the translation, so please go.
So,
I understand the external. I need the package.
So the whole conduit.
Yeah.
How does the confusion of human belief of twin flame entangled into the greater process of war as resolution of karma?
Yes. It comes down to the distortion of masculine and feminine polarities on the planet, in which through the millions and billions of years of going through different cycles of where either there was too much masculine or too much feminine, and there were these cycles of energy where you got these warrior types of masculine energy that create massive wars, and at the same time, on the opposite side, it become too much loving and almost unbearable, loving fairy airy tale, or rainbows and those stuff that comes around. Nothing wrong with those, but any two extremities of either divine masculine or divine feminine, if it's like there are two points of infinity. Okay, if one becomes larger, it consumes the other, so the other becomes the other part of it, and that's why there's a lot of I would say gender confusion in our society through homosexuality and stuff like that. So what it has caused is that that energy or cycles that we have gone through either created women that are either too masculine or males that are too feminine, and it has created gender distortions. And also it goes into communication of the masculine and feminine, and the way it has been manipulated is through a monetization of sexual energy in our galactic history, in which in India, let's say, in order for a man to become married to a woman, the woman should have provided the house, the car, all the money and everything. It was opposite to some other countries. In some other countries, like Muslim countries, the guy has to take care of every financial thing. And in the Western countries, it's almost half and half. We both take 50% of that. So there's always a super kind of a polarity, there's opposite polarity, and there's something that creates the trinity of, I would say, monetization of sexual energy in one way or another, in which in order for I to love you, you got to take care of me through this money magic system. And if you don't, have the quota based on what Hollywood puts through your mind, that this is the perfect life, if you have this car and this house and these stuff, then you're not meeting your quota. Thus, I'm not going to love you because you're not providing for me. You're not loving me in the physical realms. So the way to really go about is we got to come from the point of our hearts and our loves and destroy pretty much. I know it's really hard, and it's very controversial for a lot of people. I would say the marriage contracts, a lot of these marriage contracts that we have in place in the government systems, and the way they designed it, put it in these papers that David Wilcock was saying are in legal size. Thus, that creates a law in itself, because it's written on a piece of paper that has a specific size that resonates tries to resonate at a truth frequency, but it can't really. The truth is the truth is the truth, So it is vital that we understand that we shouldn't monetize on the love that we have first, and the interaction of that love that comes into physical form in terms of like a sexual relationship, partnership. If it comes from the point of love and understanding in the divine alignment, the divine order of love, then it's allowed and it's beautiful and it's harmonious. And nobody should, a priest, a clergy, I don't care who, shouldn't put a law against two people coming together in unity and love and in harmony. And it shouldn't be monetized. It should come from the point of I am that I am, and you are that you are. You know?
And what you just summed up is why twin flames is such a confused subject. Why people don't know how to create relationships, don't know how to learn from their mistakes, because the infrastructure, the system is designed to put self-defeating mechanisms within yourself.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to go on to a moment where we're going to take some questions from the chat. And the first one I'm going to use this question as a different purpose. And I don't normally answer this question, but there's something funny about the way I'm going to answer this. Is President Trump pushing the cabal? No, he is a mercenary president for hire to all the factions that are driving forward the hologram of control. That is my answer, and only answer I will ever give on Trump. He is a mercenary in the hierarchical order waiting for the biggest payout so that the hierarchical runs through nepotism. Now, moving on to a real question.
So basically to sum that up, we have the same girl in a different party dress?
No, the one before him wasn't a mercenary. He was already bought and sold and paid for and had gender already driven. This one is a mercenary that has choice.
Okay.
To take the highest bidder versus all the oligarchs of the world.
Yeah, but how does that serve how will that serve the collective and in changing the paradigm, raising the vibration? Kind of, what a lot of us have been fighting for the good fight for so long.
Inevitably, the system will shoot itself in the foot by the highest bidder. That's how it serves us.
In other words, he is the trumpet. He's just a better wake up. Yeah.
Okay. Ignore it as much as you can. Embrace your awakening. Get the sweet grass on your feet. Go and hug a tree. Ignore the Trump.
Lately, that's what I've been doing. I go onto Facebook. I take a look at just all the noise, and I'm just like, see you guys later. I'm going to the beach.
So everyone out there, it's okay to disconnect from the world. It will go on.
Yeah.
It has before and will again.
That's a paradigm that doesn't change. Yeah.
All right, so I want to do the next question here. Can we read the spiritual soul conscious revocations for civilizations, countries, nations, even the planet as a collective? You asked this before. And the name it to clean it said countries and nations. Yes, and I'm going to give an example of that. I, in this ever-present moment, acknowledge myself as a planetary citizen that is not attached to any singular nation-driven ideology or patriotic concept, as a soul civilization, DNA standing light body, nation of one, completely separate of this hologram that's driving forced holograms of light. I, this individual being, make a seed of consciousness, knowledge, and wisdom as part of my contract revocation and invocation to use this seed of energy to grow within the system the separation of my personal densities, so that my nation, my tribe, my clan may also go through the separation of densities. That is their natural, organic, co-creative evolution that is not entangled into the Babylonian money magic system that defines where their love can be, will be, or should be. For could-haves, would-haves, should-haves are for those that are still in shame, blame, or guilt. To make a choice to heal the self is the choice to heal this planet. And when one gets adequate enough at healing themselves and healing the planet, they can heal thousands or millions from a single word or a message that connects to everyone. It is but a choice in a revocation to make it an invocation so that the flow of the mind, body, spirit is grounded within the space of change, acknowledging that there is a multidimensional photonic being of light that is you and every other sentient being on this world, that all should be sharing the common moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind. It's as easy as flow, one step away. It is just choice.
Something I'd like to bring up about the contract revocations, and when I first started reading them, they were written by you, these long, eloquent, detailed, right to the point, hit every point, And I was really kind of self-conscious about writing my own, what I was going to leave out. I wasn't doing it right, whatever. And, one of the things I've learned is, because I started just kind of like spitting out verbal contract revocations when I would run into a situation that, I didn't feel right about, or I wanted to change or whatever. And
or that shopping cart was haunted.
Yeah, we have a lot of creative expression that can be used in these. They don't have to be something that's like rigid and structured. It can be something you just create in the moment. Mm-hmm. And, as long as it's done from the heart space, it has impact. It can shift things. And I think it's just, this is something that I just like to share with people. And, and another thing, okay, we've got the contract. How do we shift things? How do we impact our reality bubble? I see 3 really important tools: prayer, meditation, and contract revocations are all very powerful, but they serve different purposes and they have a different form. And this is something that you and I, Andrew, have discussed privately, is the difference between meditation and prayer. And that's something I'd like for you to share with the audience, because it really, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and observing, and you're dead on. We're taught meditate once a day, and my meditation is still important to me. I do that, but the prayer adds another dimension to the whole experience.
Prayer is how we make companionships with the divine source that is working through us all. Prayer requires no esoteric practice or religion. It only requires the belief in the self. Prayer has no words or a million words. Prayer is what you do to make action into wisdom. The action of giving prayers is to share with the divine source that is there. That divine source need no identity. Prayer is once again how we make connections and companionships to our guides, guardians, and source beings that are working with us. Meditation is not that. Meditation is to turn off the external world and to engage our precognitive functions of knowingness to expand our awareness, retract our awareness, to heal ourselves, or to make ourselves in the moment more capable by healing our internal bodies, bringing health and wellness in. Can one make a prayer meditation? Absolutely. But it still requires strategical forethought. And what I had come up with are what's called meditation teachings, or meta teachings, where all the teachings are combined into a prayer format that you read out loud and record, and then you are laying down or sitting and hearing your own voice in the fullness of its power, giving you the prayer and meditation while you are in observance of yourself in prayer and meditation, achieving the multidimensional self. But that requires a greater strategy in the willingness to co-create with your own self. So Ali, what is your view on the difference between prayer and meditation?
Thank you for sending that ahead of time. It's like you send that information internally this time. So they say living in a prayer, that song, because prayer itself has been distorted through the religious ideologies that we have. And the externalization of prayer in terms of, oh, I'm praying to this higher being to receive something out of this external world and create these external gods to pray to them to receive good luck or good crops or stuff like that. And the true prayer is living in the prayer, in a sense that the prayer is living in divine alignment with your true essence of who you are. As long as you are living in that divine essence and your actions and everything that you project from that point is in alignment with that divine essence, you are the living prayer walking among us, and wherever you go, you magnetize things in the divine order of creation.
That was beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Beautiful.
And meditation?
And meditation is hierarchical than the store that some of the schools, they say, oh, you got to take this for 1 year and take 2 years of this and then take 3 years of this, and that will give you this, this degree and this marker and these medals and stuff like that. And meditation, the understanding of truth of who you are. And the realization of that is instantaneous. There is no meditation to get there. You can live in the meditation by every action that you do. And I understand that we gotta meditate to disassociate from the matrix and sit by ourselves to quiet our minds to go connect to our essence. And that part is meditation, which connects us to our own essence.
Beautifully put. Once again, prayer is that way we get that connection to our internal and divine sources. Meditation is, again, a separation that brings a more clarity into what you already believe in.
For myself, meditation also encompasses connecting to the realm that I live on, connecting to the sentience of the planet, connecting to the sun, the galactic core, other planets, my ancestors, the ancestors of the land, which can be done through prayer too. That goes both ways there. But for what I've observed since we had this conversation is, how I use meditation more for controlling the energies that are moving through my light body and my Taurus, and connecting to the realm, and connecting to the sun and other things, when prayer is much more personal with the divine, with the ancestors, with talking to the realm that I live in, talking to the construct, and then watching it respond. The realm that we live in will respond back to us when we participate with it, when we connect with it. And so, for myself, prayer, meditation, and contract revocations all are tools which, are serving a purpose to help me navigate these realms, to learn to create the reality I want, to be a reality generator and generating the reality and the outcomes I desire, instead of just letting everything go on some kind of crazy autopilot and letting it unfold on its own, which can lead to some really funky places sometimes. Down some
well put. That's some poetic words there. Poetic words of experience. We just have a few minutes left in the show. So both of you, why don't you give ways that people can connect with you? So because at the end here, we're just going to do a quick clearing ceremony because we brought up a lot of war subjects.
For me, my blog is ascendingstarseed.wordpress.com. I can also be contacted on Facebook at Annette O'Toole, and that's Otoole without an apostrophe. Facebook changed my last name, so but yeah, you can reach me on Facebook as well. And I'm also I invite you to come over and see the Galactic History discussion page. I'm the senior moderator there as well.
Ali?
Yes, if you want to get connected with me, we are always, remember, we are connected interdimensionally. The fastest thing you can get to me is telepathy. You're going to your heart and say, I want to connect to your essence. And I do get messages and I can communicate directly with you that way. If you want to get through the matrix and through this computer world that we live in, go to osirisra.com, OSIRISRA.com. Okay.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. So we're going to do a little bit of a clearing energy. So one thing that Ali and I do really well is when we work in this higher dimensional realms, we're able to clear energies very fast. So both Ali and I are going to take a couple minutes here and help people go through a clearing process. So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to pass it off to Ali. So we, in this ever-present moment, as a community of audience members who have come here to learn, to come here to expand, we acknowledge the greater hold of the law of one. We acknowledge that everyone is one, even those that are asleep in this moment of now. We bring the highest form of heart-based love frequency to all that are here live, past, present, and future. For this show is to be stored in an archive that will be held in a pristine format, so all that come to it as seekers of knowledge may see it for what it is, a revelation of truth that is showing the many different scales of understanding who, what, when, and where, and why we incarnated in this world full of color, charge, and polarity. We now neutralize color, charge, and polarity so that the seekers of knowledge that come to this place of space-time may have a sanctuary to learn. We are clearing frequencies at a high level. All of our guides and guardians are here in the unseen world with their brushes, their brooms, going into the corners, removing the spiritual cobwebs that may hide lurking presences. The spiritual mops are out, and we are doing the proverbial spring cleaning, removing any negative entity or frequency that is hidden in any of our dream worlds, past, present, or future, that is not a part of our divine co-creative will. We bring the terms equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order as our definition of boundaries, so we may adhere in love through the law of one. Right, Ali?
Yes. As we sit together in this remembrance of the unity that we have in all time, the dimensions of time, space, in the intergalactic realms of unrealms, and between the realms, in those ever divine presence of the void space, we sit in unity and we declare our independence from the matrix that has held us captive in eternal time. Thus reclaim the infinite I am presence of who we are, which is, you can repeat 3 times, I am infinite love, I am infinite love, I am infinite love. And not only do it with your words, but feel it with your consciousness and bring that energy out and connect not only with yourself, but with your family members. and really feel it, feel that connection with all your family members, your brothers, your sisters, your sons and daughters, your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors. Feel the unity and see the bigger family of the family that we are all different families, and we are interconnected in the ever divine presence of I am, with all the families and the neighbors that we have. They're all our families. Everybody is our family, and connected to countries and regions that have a different color and different race and different shapes and forms. And we connect to those, the native, the South Americans, the Peruvians, the Asians, different races that come to experience this with us, and really feel that and really connect to everybody. People from Russia, from England, from UK, different names, Scotland. Then we go to Egypt and connect to those areas. And I'll let you go and scan and connect. And then we connect slowly with the ETs, even bring the people that are starseed, connect with their star family in all dimensions of time, space, and connect and open up a communication channel in which to bring your knowledge at this specific time to this planet, so we can co-create this new dream that we have. And there's an unseen part of you that I'm not going to even talk about it, but let that unseen hold that vision in eternal time, space. Amen. And I'll give you 3 minutes to go into the unseen and do the unseen work that is not even, cannot describe by me. Let me go over there. And once you're done, say, so it is 3 times.
So it is. So it is. So it is. So it is. I want to thank everybody for this show. This is a powerful webinar that we've done. We're going to be trying to doing these on a pretty regular cyclical basis on Fridays. Some Fridays for our members that are out there, we'll be doing Friday night fire ceremonies. So if you want to check out the membership site on andrewbartzis.com, head on over there. If you're interested in talking about taking the 6-week course, you can also go to andrewbartzis.com and look up Living the Mystical Life Daily. All you got to do is put an email in, and you'll get a bunch of videos that tells you all about the course with some tools, tips, and techniques for you to take yourself to the next level. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll be back with another webcast shortly. Look in your emails.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Annette. Bye.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, awesome.